everybody here, I'm assuming, likes React, and the question almost is trying to know, is anybody using TypeScript on their projects? Yeah.
TypeScript?
How many? Show of hands. What's your guys' opinion on it? Should it be used, not be used? Waste of time? Good?
Good, yeah. It helps you code.
The choice.
No, it's an interesting, and part of the reason I thought about this, apart from the fact that other people also told me that that would be a good subject, is that I just come from a project where we're doing React. And when we started the project, I was the architect on the project. And I told the devs, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do React, but we're going to use TypeScript. And everybody went, oh my God, I've never used it, another language. So the ongoing assumption here is that not a lot of people are using TypeScript just because it had constrained. And you have this language that is beautiful, JavaScript, where you can do whatever you want, however you want. And if you're good at JavaScript, you don't want to lose that freedom and be hampered. So the purpose of my talk is to convince you that to look at TypeScript, maybe even use it because it has some good, some benefits. And what I want to highlight is those benefits. So that's me, pictures. I don't like to talk about myself. I like walking on beaches at night and look at the stars. And anything else you want to know about me, please ask. Okay. So what is TypeScript? TypeScript is a subset of JavaScript, primarily provide optional static typing classes and interfaces. So basically bring some of the objects, things in, but also it allows you to type your variable so that your compiler can verify that. Anybody's heard before it's better to find a defect early because it costs you less than at the end? That's TypeScript, and my talk is done because that's thank you. Thank you. No, but that's the idea behind it, which is when you have big, humongous project and tons of people working on it, one, not everybody has the same level, and then you have to come on it. And you are in some component, some class, or some other aspect of the application, and you want to use something that somebody else has wrote. So one, without TypeScript, you probably have to go into follow code and where it went, what library, who organized it, how, and then figure out what it is, hope that there's nothing that mutated in between where it was declared and when you're using it. And then till the application runs, you may not even be able to do that. So one other thing TypeScript allows you to do is to create types and interfaces and type your variable. Say, this variable that I'm declaring here should have a string or should be an integer. And before you even run the application, it's going to be cut. Make sense? Some of the benefit, improvement in ability, data type check, code consistency, and future browser support. And part of the future browser support is because TypeScript is compiled into JavaScript. So you can write your TypeScript, you get all the benefit of it, and when you get time to run it, you're going to get some JavaScript out there. And because it's optimized and everything else, it will always support the browsers. Question there? So there's a file that was brought into TypeScript, which is the TSX file. And the purpose of that is to enable interoperability English as a second language, sorry for that, to play with the TSX. It has things where you can use the as operator to cast a variable. And you can create bundlers with your Webpack, and it's going to give you a bundle with JS and everything that you have in there. And of course, it also allows you to have specific text runners running there. One of the other things that it does is that these files can be inspected by your IDE. And what it does, because it can be inspected by your IDE, is provide you with more information about what it is that you're trying to use. If you have a comment on top of some variable, that your IDE could pick it up and show it to you. So differences between TS and TSX is basically the same, but if you want to use your declaration into a JSX file, you better use the TSX. So here, because the adoption, at least in this room, was like 1/3 using TypeScript and the other 2/3 not really playing with it. About correct? Sounds about correct? Yeah? And people using it, are you using it like hardcore, or are you using it like I'm doing lets and consts and stuff like that? Exactly. Okay, so the idea here is just to get started. Usually when we do this type of presentation, we get into very, very much detail and don't get started. Part of the problem that I had on my project is that we couldn't even get started because just of the fear. Hearing that, I've never used it, and everybody goes, oh my God. So how to get started with it? You have to install TypeScript. And for that, using NPM, NPM install global in this case, but you don't have to. And then you can check the version to make sure that it's working. Creating a project, a React project, one of the things that's interesting here is that you can actually specify the template. And when you specify the template when you're creating the project, what it does in the back is take a lot of the modules and install them for you so that you don't have to do it. So you could create an application just doing create React and don't specify the template, and then bring in one by one all the dependency that you need to support TypeScript. This is one way of going faster by using that template. And then you have to verify that you have a TS config file that is created. If it isn't created, you create one. Let's see what do I have here. Oh, yes, good. Sorry, it's the wrong screen. Where's VS Code? So you can see here the TS config file. Part of the reason that I'm going there is just show some of the things here. So in the TS config file, you can specify some of the stuff that you're going to use with Webpack or things like that. But you can specify the ES that you're targeting. You can do things like what is the other one? Straight through, which forces the Typescript, specify your JSX in here. So all of those things are in here. And you can do some exclude because when you are compiling, it's going to use this to create the new code. So there are some things that you don't want to be included, especially if you're using a bundler. You can do that. You can do the same thing with where the files are. So that's what the config file is used for. Please stop me if you have questions because it feels like I'm running through this. So these are the same thing. I forgot that I had isolated them here so to show them. I went to the code for that. Any questions so far?
Why is module ES6 and target ES5? Or you transpine the ES5 and you can write ES6, right? Okay.
And then if you want to run a Webpack to do your bundle, then you do your installation of the Webpack. And you should check to see if the React types have been installed. So you run the npm. You can ignore the Webpack because I didn't manage to make it run on my machine anyways. But that's the idea. The bundler should work. I had a bug I can trace. you need to verify that your types are there, because that's what's going to be used when you're using Typescript to give you all that information before the applications run. So when you want to create components, so here what I did is you have the normal boilerplate React created. There's nothing special to it. The entry point here as defining the package is this file that has nothing in it, more or less references the app. And then in the app, you could see that I'm not doing anything fantastic here. I'm just calling component and one passes on to it. One of the, so let me see the declaration of those things so that we can talk about it while we are here. I seem to not be able to follow my own cursor. All right.
Oh, why not?
Okay, so I created a component in here. And you could see there's really nothing special here. You're used to that. I'm extending the React component, rendering. The information is there, and I'm referencing some other things here. But what's interesting now is that you can actually create an interface. So I created a user interface here, which is the core of what we're talking about. By creating this interface here, I'm strongly typing name, age, address, and date of birth. If I pass to any of these, any information that is not of the type that I declare here, it's going to bug before I get to the time of compiling. And one of the things, even if this is pretty simple, you can look at the second component here. Working in reverse here is really throwing me off. So this is the actual component, but the code is being done from the TSX here. And one of the things that is interesting here is if you over the name, it tells you the property and it tells you that it's a string. So if you're working with it, it's going to tell you what that is, and it's going to catch it before it gets compiled time. And once you run it, hopefully, I'm still running it over. So you can see. So as you can see, simple React component, which is a component that I created before. And then down here, the user component where I pass this information and it shows. And that's it. Questions?
So Typescript just compiles to JavaScript.
Yeah.
Is there any mechanism in the final product that enforces the typing, or is it really just when you're working and writing? It's going to catch pretty much every instance, so it's going to store on data type.
When you're working, so the browser doesn't understand TypeScript, but TypeScript.
Possible that you will end up in a situation still in the final file where that can happen, or is it pretty foolproof?
You are not supposed to. It's pretty foolproof. So if it passes, so basically the things that it's catching is you declare a string, but you're not passing a string. when you're working, you're doing all of those stuff, all of those things are being cut in the beginning. When you do this translation, even if you call it var, because JavaScript vars are anything, and you can change them whenever you want, it's not going to fail because of that. But you're not going to have these issues where you're assuming that what you're getting in there is a number, and then you're doing some number things with them, and they get to the string. Yes.
What if you're using like a component library or like a REST API? Is there worries about like conflicting or like TypeScript won't play well with those libraries?
Good question. So one, most libraries support TypeScript. In case of React support both and doesn't force you. A lot of libraries are moving to TypeScript and forcing you to use TypeScript. So that's the first aspect of that. The second aspect is that TypeScript doesn't really run. It needs to output some Java, and that Java is being run either by the browser or Node. Did I answer your question? Or?
Yeah, kind of. I'm just thinking worry about issues where it's like you use TypeScript and then it's like, why is my site not?
Why is my what?
Site not working, or why is?
Oh no. You're going to. So one of hopefully I still have I have it here somewhere by chance. I kept it open. Sorry, you have to forgive me, but these things is really throwing me off to get there. I have an example here where I wrote some TypeScript and then I compiled it. And what's out there, what came out is pure JavaScript. Meaning that if you code written in TypeScript work and give you sidebar, once it's transpiled into JavaScript, you're still going to have the sidebar because the sidebar was shown after it has been translated into JavaScript. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, I have one question here first, and then I'll get to you, and then to you. It's your turn. You had a question.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked on a project that was already in JavaScript, and do you have a strategy or a way convert it to TypeScript incrementally? Or?
Very, very good question, and I'll use Louis' presentation for that. So BitDev is a great example of doing incremental adoption of TypeScript. One of the things is that, again, and that's one of the things that is important, which is TypeScript in and of itself is not executed by anything. It has to be turned into JavaScript to do what it needs to get done. So you can write portion of your code into TypeScript, and before you bundle it later, so think about it as two-stage. You wrote some code in TypeScript, you can transpile them into JavaScript, and then you can create a bundle of all the JavaScripts. And all of that is depending on how you structure your project, what are the dependencies, and all of those things, but that would be one of the strategies that you could use.
So is build time increased? Like, say, if someone goes to the website, triggers a component, is there extra time spent on converting the TypeScript to JavaScript?
Very good question. The translation of TypeScript to JavaScript is not done. It's not done at execution time.
Oh,
it's done at build time. What you get at the end is JavaScript. I think I was here. Yeah.
So, is there an interface for monadic types? Like, if you have a null, like if you're dealing with reading files, nullable and strings.
So, I don't know of one that exists natively. You probably want to build it in some utility library. But if you build it once, you can expose it to everywhere.
I mean, it looks like interface. I guess you could build it in ways that it's like you have either or, like nullable or
not
string.
Yeah.
You probably did,
Yeah. And you can extend some
But
of
it's not like Haskell, which has a monad.
Yeah. No, there's, at least that I know of, there's no. Was another question over there, or somebody raised their hand, but I missed? No?
Does it have type inference?
In what sense? clarify?
Like maybe I don't assign a type, but maybe it tries to infer a type based on. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it is type inference because you have to specify.
No, because it's
Yeah.
declarative. You have to specify what the type is.
Yeah. Okay.
Not accurate in it.
Yeah.
Why is it called transpile instead of compile?
Somebody probably came up with it, and then it sounded good.
No,
No, but compile, you sort of expecting that the output would be some
Binary or something.
exactly. Whereas transpiling, it's a high level language.
So Typescript is being used primarily to catch bugs and prevent, prevent bugs. Is the eventual option to like try and make Typescript like make all JavaScript or React apps use Typescript? Is that kind of like the trend that's going to go on?
So yeah, the
Or
trend.
why not use it?
Yeah, the trend is moving there. But think about when you go into CS classes, you're taught on Java or C# or C with C++, strongly typed languages.
Yeah.
And what it does for you at that point, once you move into the web ecosystem, is that you're lost. You don't have a debugger that works worth anything. You can inspect stuff. You have errors that you could have caught if you just had the type for it. And then you get into bad habit. I need a variable now, and I'm just going to forget what the scope is and declare it here, and then it's not available somewhere else. And plenty of stuff like that. And what it does is just help you. So on a small project, it may not be a case to use Typescript if you don't want to. But on enterprise software, where it's going to live for a long time and people are there, you don't want to get into a project and you see some variable and hopefully they named it in a way that makes sense, and you don't know what it is, what it does, and you have to look around and find it. This helps you with that. So it's really a tool for developers to have less issues. Any other questions? Thank you.